Questions 1 through 10 on the 2019 Grade 12 AMC 12B. Alicia has two containers. The first was 5/6 full of water and the second was empty. She poured all the water from the first container into the second container, at which point the second container was 3/4 full of water. What is the ratio of the volume of the smaller container to the volume of the larger container? So we have a container that's 5/6 full. So let's just say the capacity is 6 and there's 5 liters of water inside the container. Then what you do is you take all of that water and you pour it into a second container, and now it becomes 3/4 full. So approximately here, 5 liters. Now the capacity, 5 represents 3/4 of the capacity, and let's just say that's x. So that means x is equal to 20/3. So this is a 20/3 liter container. So now they just want the ratio of those two. 20/3 is a little bit more than 6. So that means the smaller one is 6. So the ratio would be 6/20/3. And that is, if you invert and multiply, 3/20, 18/20, and that is 9/10. So number 1, the answer is D. Consider the statement, if n is not prime, then n minus 2 is prime. Which of the following values of n is a counterexample to the statement? Well, if n is not prime, so first we have to look at the numbers that are not prime. That is prime, that is prime. Okay, so that's done. We don't need to worry about those. Okay, so let's look at the next statement. N minus 2 is prime. Okay, first of all, what is n minus 2? In this case, it would be 13. It would be 19 here. It would be 25. N minus 2 is prime. Well, it is prime here. It is prime here. It's not prime here. So this is a counterexample. Number 2, the answer is E. Which one of the following rigid transformation isometries maps the line segment AB onto the line segment A prime B prime so that the image of A minus 2, 1 is A prime 2, negative 1, and the image of B, negative 1, 4 is B prime 1, negative 4. Let's go through each of these one by one. First, let's just plot one. I think we should be okay with just plotting one of these. So A is minus 2, 1. So minus 2 and 1. So there's A, minus 2, 1. And then A prime is 2, negative 1. So here's 2, and here's negative 1. So 2, negative 1, like that. Okay, let's talk about these. A reflection in the y-axis. Well, this is the y-axis right here. If we reflected it, A would be here. So that's obviously not the case. Counterclockwise rotation around the origin by 90 degrees. So if we only went 90 degrees, it would be about here somewhere. Again, it would be in the first quadrant, so it's not B. Translation 3 units to the right and then 5 down. 3 to the right would bring it to actually 1. And this has 2 as the x-coordinate, so that's wrong. Reflection in the x-axis, well, here's the x-axis, and that would bring it down to here. So that's obviously not right. So we haven't even talked about E, but by process of elimination, the answer is E. But let's just look at E. Clockwise rotation about the origin, 180 degrees. So we would take this and go 180 degrees, and indeed we would end up here. So that's the only one that makes any sense, actually. So the answer is E for number 3. A positive integer n satisfies the equation n plus 1 factorial plus n plus 2 factorial is equal to 440 times n factorial. What is the sum of the digits of n? N plus 1 factorial plus n plus 2 factorial is equal to 440 times n factorial. Let's expand this. N plus 1 times n factorial plus n plus 2 times n plus 1 times n factorial is equal to 440 times n factorial. The n factorials cancel, so that means we've got n plus 1, and then we can expand this guy. So it'll be n squared plus 3n plus 3, and this would be 440. So collecting like terms, it would be n squared plus 4n minus 437. And I think that factors 437 is what, 19 and 23? So n positive, negative, and therefore n is 19. So number 4, the answer. Oh, I got to find the sum of the digits of n. That would be 1 plus 9. So that's 10. Okay. Number 4, the answer is C. Each piece of candy in a candy shop costs a whole number of cents. Casper has exactly enough money to buy either 12 pieces of red candy, 14 pieces of green, 15 pieces of blue, or n pieces of purple. A piece of purple candy costs 20 cents. What is the least possible value of n? So we have red, green, blue, and then purple. So for the red, we have 12 pieces, then 14 pieces, then 15 pieces, and then n pieces. And then for the other ones, we are not given a cost except for the purple, which is 20 cents. So if we want the least possible value of n, we have to find the least common multiple of these numbers. So for 12, it's 2 times 2 times 3. 14 is 2 times 7. 15 is 3 times 5. Here they don't give us anything, but they do give us the price, and that is 2 times 2 times 5. So the LCM, 2, we have to include it, the maximum number of times it is presented in any of those numbers, and the maximum is twice, so the LCM has to have it twice. Okay, so that takes care of the 2's. 3 is the next one. 3 appears only once, maximum, so that appears once. And then 5, that appears only once in each individual number. And then 7 only appears once. So this is the LCM. 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 7, that's 420. So now to get the costs, we just have to divide the number of pieces, 420 divided by the number of pieces. And when you do, you get 35, 30, and 28. And then here we have to figure out n. You do that by dividing 420 by 20 cents, and that would give you 21. So number 5, the answer is B. In a given plane, points A and B are 10 units apart. How many points C are there in the plane such that the perimeter of ABC is 50 units and the area is 100? Let's draw a diagram. So let's say this is A and this is B, and say this is 10 units. And now I have to draw the other two sides, so I'll just call them x and y, let's say. So x plus y plus 10 is equal to 50. So that means x plus y must be equal to 40. Now we have to figure out the area, so I'll draw an altitude here. So this is an altitude. And that altitude obviously is going to meet at a right angle like that. So we'll just call that h. So 1/2 base, which is 10, times height, which is h, is equal to 100. So that means 5h is equal to 100, so h is 20. All right. So now let's talk about this. The height is 20. Now, based on this diagram right here, this triangle, you can clearly see that x, which is this distance, has to be greater than h, right? Because h is one of the sides and x is the hypotenuse. So x has to be greater than h. And then y, well, in comparison to x, y could be greater than x, or it could be equal. If it's equal, it would be an isosceles triangle, or it could be greater. So that means that 20 is less than x, and y is greater than or equal to x. If that's the case, and we have to now satisfy this, is that possible? Well, let's see. If both x and y are greater than 20, then that means that x plus y would be greater than 40, since they're both greater than 20. If you're not convinced, let's just write it out individually. X is greater than 20. Y is greater than 20. If you add them, you get x plus y greater than 40. And therefore, it could never be equal to 40. So the answer is that this is not possible, the parameters of the question. So there's 0 such points in the plane to make this true. And therefore, the answer would be A for number 6. What is the sum of all real numbers x for which the median of the numbers 4, 6, 8, and 17 and x is equal to the mean of those 5 numbers? All right, the mean, let's just do that first. 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 17 plus x. And then, of course, you divide by 5. And that is what? 35 plus x divided by 5. Or if you really want to, 7 plus x over 5. Okay. Now let's talk about the median. The median, I think, is going to be a little bit more work. So those numbers are fixed, but I have to figure out where the x goes, and I'm not sure where the x goes. Let's just place the x here. And in that case, x would be less than 4. So it's very important we pay attention to the parameter. And then the median, I'll squeeze in here. The median here looks like 6, because median is always the middle number, right? So let's make a little table, nothing too complicated. Okay, next is when we squeeze the x here. And in that case, x would be between 6 and 4, and the median again is 6. The next is when, well, I actually skipped one. How about when x is equal to 4? When x is equal to 4, it would be 4, 4, 6, 8, 17. The median is 6. Okay, what about when x is equal to 6? Then it would be 4, 6, 6, 8, 17. The median is also 6. And then now we are going into the next category where x is between 6 and 8. So x is now between 6 and 8 like that. The median this time is x. Okay, so we got something different this time. So now we get into the next category, which is when x is equal to 8, and that would be 4, 6, 8, 8, 17. This time the median is 8. Next, 4, 6, 8, x is there, so that means x is between 8 and 17, and the median again is 8. Finally, we have x equals 17. 4, 6, 8, 17, 17. Median again is 8, and then x is greater than 17. So we'd have 4, 6, 8, 17, and x. Median again is 8, I should say. Okay, so it looks like we only have 3 to worry about. Either the median is 6, or it's x, or it is 8. Okay, so let's start with the first one, when the median is 6. So that means 6 is going to equal the mean. So we have 6 is equal to 7 plus x over 5. So that means negative 1 is equal to x over 5. So that means x is equal to negative 5. X is equal to negative 5. Does it fall within the range? Well, this range basically is any value of x that's less than or equal to 6. And x equals negative 5. That is within that range. Okay, so this is a good one. Let's try it now. X, that's the next median. X this time is equal to 7 plus x over 5. Okay, so that's going to be x minus x over 5. 4x over 5 is equal to 7. So 4x is equal to 35. X is equal to 35 over 4, which is what, 8.75? Yeah, 8.75. Well, the range for x there was between 6 and 8. 8.75 is not within that range. So that is no good. Inadmissible. And the reason is because it doesn't fall in that range. Okay, we got one more to do. And that next one is when the median is 8. So that means 8 is equal to 7 plus x over 5. So that means 1 is equal to x over 5, and therefore x is equal to 5. Now, in this part of the table, x was greater than or equal to 8. and x equals 5 is not greater than or equal to 8. So again, we have something that's inadmissible. So it looks like the only admissible was this guy. So that's it. What is the sum of all real numbers? Well, there's only one real number, and it's negative 5. So the sum of that is just itself, 13. The answer is A. Let f of x equal x squared times 1 minus x squared. What is the value of the sum? So let's write out a few of them and just to get a feel of what this is like. So starting with f at 1 over 19. So that would be 1 over 2019 squared. And then it would be 2018 over 2019. And that's going to be squared and squared. Okay, let's keep going here. The next one looks like it'll be 4 times 4 over 2019 squared. And then you will have 2017 squared over 2019 squared. And keep in mind it's a negative. And the next one is a positive. So that's going to be 9 over 2019 squared times what looks like 2016 squared over 2019 squared. Now, we can keep going, and I'll just write one more. 16 over 2019 squared, and then that one is going to be 2015 squared over 2019 squared. Okay, so it keeps going like that, plus dot, dot, dot. And then what I'll do is I'll write the last 4, starting with this one and then going backwards. So the very last one is going to be 2018 squared over 2019 squared, and it's going to be times 1 over 2019 squared. And then that, keep in mind, is a negative. And the next one over is going to be 2017 squared over 2019 squared, and times 2 squared, which is 4 over 2019 squared. And that is a positive. The next one over will be 2016 squared over 2019 squared. And then that's going to be 3 squared, which is 9 over 2019 squared. And that is a negative, and we'll do just one more. The next one would be 2015 squared over 2019 squared, and it would be 4 squared 16 over 2019 squared, and that is a positive. Okay, I think that's good enough. Well, let's see what happens. This cancels with this. This cancels with that. This cancels with that. This cancels with that. And as you can see, it just keeps canceling. But before you select 0 and move on, just keep in mind that it's going to only be 0 if the number of terms are even. Well, the number of terms are going from 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 2018, and indeed, the number of terms are even. Because if you have an even number of terms, right, let's say we had 8 terms, then this would cancel with that, that with that, that with that, and that with that. And it would all be 0. But if there was an odd number of terms, like this, then after you start canceling, there would still be 1 left over. So that's just something I wanted to mention. So number 8, the answer is A. For how many integral values of x can a triangle of positive area be formed having side lengths log of x to the base 2, log of x to the base 4, and 3? We have log of x to the base 2, log of x to the base 4, and 3. So I'm going to call this guy A and this B. So that means that I'm going to probably need to do a change of base because this base is obviously different from that base. But if I change them, I can make the bases x, and that will help me. So when you do a change of base and you make it log of 2 to the base x, it just flips it. So it becomes 1 over a. That's a standard rule. So another change of base here, 4 and the base x, that makes it 1 over b. Now this, of course, is 2 squared, 1 over b, and then the 2 comes out front. So you get that, and that's another log rule. And this right here, well, that's just a. Is it? No, it's 1 over a. Oh, okay, got to be careful there. So 1 over a. Okay, so I got 2 over a is equal to 1 over b. So that means that 2b is equal to a. So a is equal to 2b. So now really I have 2b, b, and 3 to deal with. So let's use the famous triangle inequality. And that states, of course, that any two sides have to be greater than the third side. So if our three sides are 2b, b, and 3, 2b plus b has to be greater than 3. So that means 3b is greater than 3, b is greater than 1. Another way of looking at the triangle inequality is adding 2b plus 3 and saying that's got to be greater than b. If that is the case, that means b is greater than -1. Okay, that doesn't really help us, but it's actually, b is greater than -3. Okay. And then the other way is to compare, what haven't I compared? 3 plus b is greater than 2b. Yeah. So that means that 3 is greater than b. So combining these, b looks like it's greater than 1 or less than 3. Okay. So that's b. We have to go back and see what is b. Well, b was this guy right here. So that means that the log of x to the base 4 is greater than 1 or greater than 3. Okay. Well, let's do this on the side here. The log of x to the base 4, if it equals 1, that means 4 to the power of 1 is x. And if the log of x to the base 4 is equal to 3, then that means x is equal to 4 to the power of 3, and that is 64. So basically, this means that x is greater than 4 or less than 64. So are they integers? Yeah, integral values. So all the integers that are 63, 62, ... all up until 5. And if you count those, that's 63 minus 4, which is 59 values. So number 9, the answer is B. The figure below is a map showing 12 cities and 17 roads connecting certain pairs of cities. Paula wishes to travel along exactly 13 of those roads, starting at city A and ending at city L, without traveling along any portion of a road more than once. Paula is allowed to visit a city more than once. So these circles represent the cities, and these individual bars represent the roads. So how do we get to exactly 13, meeting the conditions of the question? And after some fiddling around, hopefully you will get this. So let me explain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. As you can see, that path gives you 13, and we met the rules that we didn't cross over any road more than once. We hit the same cities a couple times. We hit this city twice and hit this city twice, I believe, but we didn't cross over any roads. And you can do the same path in 4 ways. Basically, when you get to F, right here, you can either go to J or E. So that gives you 2 ways. And then very similarly, when you get to G, you can go to either C or H, and that gives you another 2 ways. So it's 2 here, 2 here, 2 times 2 is 4. And just in case you wanted, here are those 4 paths written out. Here's the first one, second one, third one, and fourth one. So there's 4 paths, and therefore number 10, the answer is E.